All right, today's video is gonna be a little different. You see, I've been running GLM 5.2 on my server now for a little while. I've made some videos about it. But what if my configuration I'm using isn't perfect? What if it's not optimal enough to run GLM 5.2 as fast as possible on my server? I mean, at the end of the day, there are like 100 different parameters and possible combinations you could use to run GLM differently. So what if I overlook something or miss something? Well, we're gonna make AI figure that out for us, because today we're gonna use a paid version of GLM 5.2 to review our local version of GLM 5.2 and double check everything. That's right, today's AI inception. See, the thing is, there's so many things we could check on a hardware and a software level that it would take a long time. And I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. And there are tools like Llama Bench that do help you do this. But we're gonna go really deep. I wanna know everything. Is there something specific we're missing? Is the configuration just not quite right? And I don't have the time to do it, and you might not either, so we're gonna make GLM do it for us on the paid version. So let's see if the paid version of GLM 5.2 can review the local version, and let's see if it can push this that much further. And I think that's a really fun thing to try. So let's see if we can do it. All right, let's get started. So we're gonna use a tool called ollama, which allows me to run the paid version of GLM 5.2 on the server to actually try to do the work of optimizing local copy. So I give it the prompt. This will probably take a couple of hours because it has to go through and try every possible combination. But hey, I don't have to do it, and so that's a win. But we currently stand about 14 tokens a second with the Q3 version of GLM 5.2. If we can hit 16, 17, heck, even 20 tokens a second, I would consider this entire thing a win. So let's just see what it does.
One eternity later.
Okay, we're back. 2 days later, and not hours, because that's how long it took the agent to actually go through and try the 25 different experiments it ended up doing. But that's okay. So I have ollama pulled up. It says it's done for now. We could probably ask to do more work, but I want to leave it here and I want to pull up the findings document I had it draft so we can look and see what it tried and what it actually found. So let's do that now. Okay. So right off the bat, it broke down the system's hardware, which is totally fine. We've got 2 Intel Xeon CPUs, total of 16 cores, 3.6 gigahertz. I think the max is like a turbo of 4.20, which is great. Got 10 GPUs, 320 gigs of VRAM. We knew all that stuff, that's fine. Okay, the one thing I wasn't sure on, and I was actually a bit wrong, is that I thought we were at 14 tokens a second initially when we'd run the model, but actually it looks like we're about 12 point something, 12.16 when you first start out at about 10,000 tokens. So that's kind of a bummer. I was hoping it was actually higher. We definitely, if you read through this, we did not hit 16 tokens a second. Not even like 14, not 20. That's a bummer. But what I think is interesting is this ran 25 different experiments that if you would have ran Llama Bench on its own would never have tested. Llama Bench is a great tool, but it only tests the basics like quantization sizes for key value pair, your batch sizes, and all that is super useful. But what this did is we had GLM 5.2 optimize itself, and it tried a ton of combinations on both the Llama source code side and on the parameter side. And so we have to look at the different configurations that might have made a difference on this hardware specifically that something like Llama Bench would just never test. And I was reading through the list earlier, and some things are interesting here. A takeaway right away is that I had the quantization for key value pairs set to Q4 because I want to get as much VRAM left over as possible for context. And then, like, you could probably even do Q8 and still get a lot left over. What it found was fascinating is that like F16, which is basically no quantization or no shrinkage of the tokens, basically, it ran it at that and it did fit properly, which is great. And it was actually faster. I would never have tried that because I was trying to squeeze as much context as possible out of the model. And so yeah, F16, it bumped it up, which is interesting. It tried a bunch of different things. Some things I've tried in the past, like P2P, offloading the model of experts to the CPU. But where we landed was about 12.75 tokens a second, 12.79, somewhere in there. So it's not earth-shattering. We didn't hit the 14 tokens a second I wanted, or 20. But the whole point of this experiment was like, could we have the AI optimize it for us and try all these things? Because this did take 2 days of nonstop experimentation over and over and over again with all these possible combinations. And the answer is, yeah, it totally did it. So maybe if you gave it like a DeepSeek V4 Flash at 30 tokens a second, maybe it could hit 40 or beyond with just some of the testings it does automatically that you might not have tried on your own platform. So I think this is a success as far as like really being thorough at testing what's possible and automating it so we don't have to do that ourselves. I'm not saying it's perfect, but like, how cool is that? Like, we just had AI test all the things for us and do the work. That's interesting. So it looks like the theoretical max on this server is about 12.79 tokens a second at 10,000 context for GLM 5.2. This current version of Llama with this model configuration that was built. And that's fine. Like, it's not perfect, but I'm okay with that. I think at this moment we can't go any further, and it's mostly due to the PCIe 3.0 bandwidth starvation on the server. Not every slot is running at x16 full speed with all those lanes. Some are at 8, some are at 4. So at the end of the day, I think these GPUs are just unfortunately starving for bandwidth. And so it's not the GPU's fault, it's more of the server's platform. But I mean, at the end of the day, we shoved 10 of them in 10-year-old hardware. So like, it's really not that surprising at the end of the day. But I think it's a super cool, definitely a worthwhile experiment. And so maybe you can try this. See if it helps your server. Maybe you can get better configurations for Llama than you would have gotten otherwise. So anyways, hope you found it interesting. Let me know what you think down in the comments. I've got some other ideas that I want to try too with some of this type of stuff. And I don't know, that's interesting. So I'll see you guys later.